Welcome to Pause for Peace with me, Pastor Jule. Happy Easter. You heard me right. Happy Easter. The season of Easter lasts 50 days. We are merely on the second Sunday of Easter. This podcast being released to you on April 12th, 2026. These past weeks, I've been spending a lot of time in the canonical Gospels, kind of tracing, sometimes I just sort of trace little rabbit trails, they might be called. Sometimes I just listen to the whole thing and take it all in and start to hear the big themes that are going on. And as we are still in the season of Easter, in my own experience of Easter Sunday, I found my mind transported a little bit. Don't worry, it wasn't during my sermon, but I found myself transported to my experience in September 2025 in southern France. I had the amazing ability to be a part of a Prayer of the Heart retreat. I've spoken about it before on this podcast. You can look back to some of the podcasts in the fall when I was diving more deeply into what I experienced there at the monastery of Saint Michel de Var in it's in Provence, but in sort of the southeast side of Provence. It was an area I hadn't really been quite in that far east at my experiences in southern France. In the monastery of Saint Michel de Var, I was reminded during our Easter celebration of being in that original small chapel that they have there. And our retreat leader was sharing with us what it is like to be a part of the French Orthodox worshiping community there. And she was speaking about this incredible, mysterious experience of Easter. I don't have images to show you all around of this little bitty chapel that we are in, but here we were in the middle of this forested area on the grounds of this beautiful monastery, and we entered into this little bitty chapel, which was the original chapel of this monastery that's really only been around for a couple of maybe 30 or 40 decades as a French Orthodox community that is in these monastic vows together, but yet every Sunday has opportunities for people from all around the area to come and participate, to be a congregation together with those who are the monks that live there and that live out their vocation there of service and prayer. And Veronique Flail was speaking about just this mysterious quiet of Easter, gathering in this little bitty chapel that is surrounded by images of their patron saint. Mary Magdalene is one of their main patron saints. And she's images, icons, frescoes of her are all around this little chapel, along with some of the other saints. There's Mary the Mama, and there's Saint Michel himself. And there's just this sense of quiet and wonder as we were told about coming together in the quiet of Easter morning, using candles to kind of light the way. There is there's such an interesting little chapel where you can roll back this rug and open up these wooden doors. The floor comes open and there is a baptismal fountain. Really, it's almost feeling like a well going into the earth in this floor, where on Easter Sunday and other times of the year there would be this opportunity for people who are new to the faith to be baptized in this beautiful worship experience on the quiet and wonder of Easter morning. Easter morning is this day when we celebrate the resurrection of Jesus. This seems incredibly impossible to believe, that this faithful, devout teacher and healer and preacher, and one that was the Son, the one that was the human one that showed us the template of how to be a human being in right alignment and connection with God, with the indwelling presence of the Spirit of God that is in us and all living things. And Jesus faithfully lives out his life. And as he's like making the standard love, unconditional love, free love, like the ability, which wasn't free at all. It's very costly to live the path of love, but the ability to live according to kindness and forgiveness and humility and peace and joy, like rightly aligned in every way of seeking to live out this love power that we celebrate on Easter. Jesus is crucified. He is put to death. This is what we remember during the week, Holy Week, leading up to Easter, that love comes in a humongous clash with the worldview that is all about might, that is all about domination, that is all about competition, tearing others down, separating. Love comes into a huge clash with that on the week of Holy Week, Good Friday in particular. Jesus breathes his last. And at Saint Michel, and at so many faithful congregations and representations of the church around the world, there are those who come together in the quiet of Easter morning, waiting for this like mysterious, impossible miracle to take place, waiting to once again reenact this way that out of death comes life. And I wonder if you can imagine being in a little bitty chapel somewhere, surrounded by this glorious images of faithful saints throughout time, and gathering with others who are bearing the light of a candle in the darkness, and literally with the priest going into the water to become baptized, to become one who says, I will align with Jesus the Christ. I will seek to follow his teachings and to live love every day of my life. There's a way that baptismal font and that experience that Veronique was telling us about on Easter morning, there's this mystery of literally going down into this baptismal pool to come out a new creation. As the light is literally coming forth from the sun, this glorious mystery of worship that Veronique shared with us was so incredible. And one of the traditions in this French Orthodox monastic community and church is the sharing of red eggs. So I have a variety of red eggs here with me today. If you're watching the podcast on YouTube, you can actually see the video cast, and you can see these hand-painted red eggs that I've collected a few of them. In particular, these came, they're actually wooden. These came from the Basilica of Mary the Magdalene in Saint Maximin le Sainte Baume in Provence in southern France, where the remains of Mary the Magdalene are. Her skull is there, her bit of her hair is there. The monastery of Saint Michel has some of her hair as well, which is where we would meditate every morning in front of this relic of Mary the Magdalene's hair. And the red egg is connected not just with Easter, but in particular with Mary the Magdalene. And in this beautiful French Orthodox monastic community, when they come together on Easter morning, they bring red eggs. They have all found a way to dye an egg red and paint it the best they can. And they, like, in their community, they actually have, like, Vladimir, who is, like, the man that, like, did all the frescoes of their newer sanctuary. And Veronique told us, like, his red eggs are absolutely incredible. Whereas people who may not be as talented to paint an egg, theirs are not as highly sought. But they will exchange these red eggs with one another on that morning. And they are to take that red egg home with them and to keep it somewhere in their kitchen where they will see it frequently. Now, it's helpful to know the mysterious story of the red egg to know why this is a tradition that is so incredibly important in this monastic community in southern France, which also is a church. Just think of it as a congregation that happens to be, like guided and led by a variety of monastic priests and monks. And the red egg that they celebrate, this has been something in the Eastern Orthodox tradition that's been like kind of a part of the understanding ever since like the whole resurrection of Jesus, that Mary the Magdalene, who was the first at the resurrection tomb, by herself, as we're told in like the Gospel of John or in the Gospel of Matthew, which I've been diving deep into these last several weeks. In the Gospel of Matthew, it is Mary the Magdalene and the other Mary, which is something, if you read the whole story of the Marys during the last week of Jesus the Christ, you will begin to understand that this other Mary most likely is Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, who is named at the crucifixion, who is also Mary, the mother of Jesus, as Jesus' brothers were James and Joseph. So many believe that the other Mary that's spoken about in the Gospel of Matthew actually is the mother of Jesus, which makes sense. Like the mother and this beloved disciple would be the ones that are there every step of the way. This is how the Gospel of Matthew is trying to help us understand the story of what's going on and who these faithful people were that were standing, taking in the crucifixion, that witnessed the burial, and that greeted like Easter morning back at the tomb. Mary the Magdalene and the other Mary, but in particular, the stories that emphasize the Gospel of John, for instance, Mary the Magdalene is the one that is told by the risen Christ to go and tell my story, to like go tell my disciples. In the Gospel of Matthew, it says, go tell my disciples that I am risen and I'm going to Galilee and I will meet them there. Mary the Magdalene delivers that message. We don't have like records of that in the canonical Gospels because it's like not told of in like Acts, for instance, which is an like continuation of the Gospel of Luke. And the Gospel of Luke has a whole different way of presenting Mary the Magdalene's role, even though she is named as one of the women, the woman named first at the crucifixion and at the resurrection. But imagine that Mary the Magdalene actually takes seriously this charge that the risen Christ has given her in that like very first experience that the risen Christ has with any other human being. Mary the Magdalene is told to go and tell, like go and share this good news. I am alive. I am risen. Death is not the end. Death is merely the transition from one thing to the new life that is coming. This is what we celebrate on Easter. And in the Eastern Orthodox tradition, there's a story that Mary the Magdalene like took her role as apostle to the apostles, and in southern France she's understood as the apostle to southern France. She's the patron saint there, and she is known as somebody who actually departs Jerusalem and eventually makes her way. The story is that she makes her way to Rome, which in the southern France understanding, it's she's on the way to southern France, but she makes her way and is seated with the Emperor of Rome. Like imagine this. This is the emperor of the empire that put her beloved teacher to death. She is with the emperor, according to this story that's celebrated in the Eastern Orthodox tradition. She is with the emperor. She is dining with the emperor. He is not believing her. She is telling the emperor of Rome, you put Jesus to death, but God had another plan. Death is not the end. Love reigns supreme even over your desire, Roman Emperor, for military might, for force, and scare tactics and manipulation and fear. Death is not the end. You put him to death. God raised Jesus to new life, because risen life, new life, comes all the time out of death. She is passionately telling this story to the emperor of Rome, who has put Jesus to death. And the emperor actually says to her, there's no way that could happen. They're dining together. She's actually eating an egg at the time. She has an egg in her hand that she reached for on the table, an egg in her hand. And the emperor says, there's no way that could happen. There's no way that a man who I crucified could be alive once again, risen from the dead. It cannot be. It's more possible that that egg in your hand, which was white at the time, says the Roman emperor, that the egg in your hand that is white could instantly be turned red, then it is possible for a man that I put to death to be risen to new life. And the story is that in the very moment he says that, the egg in Mary Magdalene's hand turns from white to red. The egg itself is a seed. It's a symbol. It's a sign of new life. All potential for all life is in the egg. In fact, every human being, in part, comes from an egg. And there's a beautiful mandala by St. Hildegard of Bingen, doctor of the church, amazing powerhouse woman who was such a faithful follower of Jesus. She has this beautiful mandala from a vision she received in this time of prayer of the universe, and it looks like a red egg. It's so incredible. Centuries after Mary the Magdalene, she was in the area of Germany known in the Rhinelands and having this amazing vision of the whole universe being this glorious red egg, the seed of all potential for life. The red egg is such a powerful symbol of Easter. It's a reminder to us that new life comes, that like death is not the end. And it's even a reminder of this other powerhouse woman who was faithful at the crucifixion, burial, and resurrection, and receives this good news and goes into the world to teach it. Right there, just a few years after Jesus, she is actually in Rome and then moving beyond Rome to go and bring the news of Christianity to the shores of what was Gaul at the time, which became France, to bring Christianity to Europe in that way. The red egg is a symbol of it all, of this mysterious way that life begins again, that death is not the end. Now, I totally understand that when we lose a loved one, when somebody dies physically, it's a huge sundering in our heart. It's crushing to us. It feels like somebody literally is being ripped away from us, our heart becomes broken. And what the Gospels are helping us to see, and what this being of Mary the Magdalene, who is there at the tomb and ready for resurrection, is showing us, is that there is a way that we never die. Yes, we physically die. And the aspect of us that is this imprint of God in us lives on, is resurrected. There is a way in which we can still commune beyond the physical realm. This is what is happening in the Gospels. Those who are meeting the risen Christ are experiencing the risen Christ. Yes, he's in the bodily form of Jesus, and he is no longer a physical human being in the same way that we are. It's so mysterious. There's stories in the canonical gospels that tell of Jesus like suddenly appearing as if he's like walked through walls. And there are stories in the canonical New Testament, in the gospels, that talk about Jesus doing like the mundane things of like eating and being physically among and letting people actually touch his wounds from the crucifixion, to feel the scars that are now healed in his hands and in his feet and in his side. There's this way that Jesus is just like this mystery. This risen one is a mystery who is among us to help us to see that what is physically around us is not all there is. There is this force that is God, that is life, that is love, that never ends. The egg, the red egg reminds us this. The joy of Easter reminds us of this. The icons and symbols of Mary the Magdalene remind us this, because she is the one who first was able to experience this with the risen Christ. And the risen Christ himself reminds us of this, that death is not the end. There is new life, which means when our loved one passes, they are, yes, physically separated from us, and yet they are not fully separated from us. They live on. We can still commune and connect. We have to begin to learn how to do that in a way that can set us free, in a way that can connect us with the risen Christ, with the God that is beyond us, and with what we say in the Christian tradition, with the saints who have gone on before. We call upon all of those to be together with us every time we are around the table of our Lord to receive the sacrament of the Lord's Supper. It's like such an incredible thing. Veronique was powerfully reminding us of this community in southern France that continues this tradition of the sharing of the red egg, and that honors the mystery, the joy, and the glory of risen life all throughout the year. As Veronique spoke about like keeping that red egg in her kitchen all year long, she talked about how that actually transforms her experience in the kitchen, because she has this visual reminder before her of the beautiful celebration of Easter and of the powerful lesson of new life coming out of death, something even symbolized in the way that people are baptized there, down into the water and up into the fresh beauty of a new commitment to follow Jesus the Christ. This is part of what, it's so much, and it's part of what we need all throughout this season of Easter. We need like 50 days to meditate upon this, to reflect upon this, to read more from the scriptures about this, to learn what others have said all along the path about this mystery of the Christ that is crucified and the Christ that is risen. As we pause today to get ourselves centered, you might be feeling confused, you might be feeling overwhelmed, you might be feeling like amazement, whatever it is. Let's get ourselves centered. Come on back to our breath with our feet flat on the ground underneath us, wherever we are. We'll take a deep breath and release. We'll take another deep breath from our belly and release. And really inwardly trying to hone in. There's so much that I've shared in this podcast, I know, but trying to hone in on the glorious mystery, not just of the red egg, but the glorious mystery of Easter, a Good Friday that turns to a glorious Easter Sunday morning. As we hone in on the mystery of this season, we'll take another deep breath and release. Feel ourselves getting more centered within as we exhale. And if you'll place both of your hands, palms on top of one another and one palm in the center of your chest. I invite you to close your eyes if you have not yet. And see if you can listen with your heart. Turn off your logical reasoning mind for a little bit and listen with the heart. See with your heart. Know with your heart. This energy of the heart space at the center of our chest. That is this beautiful portal that connects us, not just with what's going on all around us in the world, but also as we center into our heart space and settle in there, the heart space begins to give us this bridge between this present moment, this physical aspect of self, and the indwelling presence of God. And so within, we pay attention to receive a message from God. This is the way of the heart, the way of following the prayer of the heart. And as we are in the quiet listening, I invite us to pose the question to the Spirit of God living within: where in my life do I need a reminder of the mystery? Where in my life do I need a reminder of the mystery? Inwardly, through the space of the heart, pose that question to the God that lives within. Sometimes it's known as the pneuma, or the spirit. Where in my life do I need a reminder of the mystery? In the stillness, we simply seek to receive. If you'll take one more deep breath now, slowly release. Bring your palms together in the center of your chest. And if you will express inwardly some form of gratitude for what you have received. We'll take another deep breath. And as we release, I invite us to bow from the waist, their head going down as well. As we come back up, that we might do so in a way that is our exclamation of let it be so. Coming back to this present moment, I hope you will find a way for whatever you've received about where in my life do I need a reminder of the mystery, like whatever you have received. Find a way to capture that. It might be that you literally are like memorizing what you saw, because maybe you saw something. Or maybe you want to jot a note in your journal or on your phone about something you experienced. Like maybe you had a physical sensation as you were open to receiving. Maybe you actually heard something. Maybe you heard inwardly some kind of word or message of where in your life you need a reminder of the mystery. And even this experience of seeking to connect with the God that is within. Like at first I saw the color black, like just the mystery of the darkness. And that in of itself is a amazing symbol that is showing me that like there's a way that when we seek to enter into connection with God, it in itself is mystery, because God is mystery. We use all sorts of words and understandings like grapple with what this God thing is, and yet God is a mystery. Like it is a mystery how something which is dead, done, gone, can once again rise to new life. It's a mystery. It's a mystery at the core of Christian faith. And it's okay if we cannot rationally figure that out. We can keep our eyes open and keep attuned for how we see it taking place in our own lives, in the lives of those we love, in the life of the natural world, in history in and of itself. Like there are ways that we can see this mystery of new life burgeoning again and again and again. I hope you have an incredible second week of Eastertide. Keep your eyes open for the beautiful mystery that is new life. I'll catch you next time on Pause for Peace.